I kept saying, like, let go. And they usually always say that, like, let go of control, let go of this identity, like, let go of this reality that you're forcing yourself to live, that you're not happy with, because you want more out of life, but you don't realize it. Because they were talking about, yeah, like a mirage, and all these distractions that all of us face, and because they're everywhere. I found that out the hard way, because my God, they were right. Addiction epidemic, 2025, and of course I've got my fellow addiction here, caffeine addiction, which is also counts as an addiction. This is what I do every time I get one of these to make myself feel just the slightest bit better. See, it's decaf now. So these are all the things that can be addictions that you may or may not know. And many are waking up to this because it's become so glaringly obvious. We can't even ignore it anymore. Especially my whole generation, they said it. Like, especially the money obsession everywhere, right? Like, we're finding, like, what the hell are we even chasing this for, right? If I won the lottery tomorrow, or if you won it, like, you think, oh, I wouldn't have to pay any bills anymore. I'd be so happy. I could afford everything. I'd be rich. That means I could be famous. I could do what I want forever. Like, yeah, but would you be happy? That's what I think. Like, I'm one of the weird people, because I'd almost feel guilty because I didn't work for the money, and I would want to work for it to feel earned. I don't think a lot of people understand that. You'd be greedy. You'd turn greedy. You'd hoard it. You'd feel like the money is you, and that's what happens to people. Like, we see it. Like, look at it. Look at these people and see, like, do you think the people who have the most money in the world, do you think they're happy? I personally don't think so. Because that's why they're such selfish people. Like, they don't know what they really value. That makes sense. Money is like a whole other problem to talk about. People are starting to think that, like, money will just magically fix all of their problems. And they value it so much that they place it over themselves and other people. And then they wonder why they're so unhappy. And it's like, man, your values are so off the wall. Because it's just a piece of paper. Like, it's just a random number in your bank account that you're putting over a whole community that you could have, like a bunch of friends, your family, right? Wanting money to pay bills is one thing, and shop occasionally, not binge shop now, that's an addiction too. But I see people my age worshiping it like Jesus, basically, and that's the definition of a dystopian nightmare. Values are just off the wall right now. And I see why. Like, it's a very confusing world when you see these people with lots of money and lots of greed, and they're just casually hurt people, and they get rewarded for that. It's very, very strange. Like, I think that they're being put on a pedestal so everyone can see it. So you can see the corruption. You can't deny it anymore. Because people have been denying it. It's like, okay, now you can't not see it. So you can't excuse it anymore, and if you do, you just look crazy. Like, that's just what I think. More of my own addiction, and I'm not proud of in the slightest. Again, my example is I've gone to work, and I have coworkers in their 50s and 60s, so retirement age. They all work at Publix. They've been slaving over Publix for, like, God knows how many years, making minimum wage, chasing retirement. And you look at these people, and they're just, it's almost like, I don't want to call them NPCs, that's what people call them, that, like, disregards that these are people, and they have a backstory, and they have families. Like, they're not just little blank slates walking around, no, but they are like robots, and it's like they're on autopilot. I notice they say the same things like a broken record. They'll be like, how are you? And a lot of them, like, complain a lot because they're just so used to complaining. All the time they'll complain and they don't want to work, or they work too hard. They're just so used to doing the same things they've been doing for years. It's actually, like, existentially terrifying to me to see it because I'm so, like, I just walked in here. I'm like, hello? I'm basically like I feel like a baby walking in there. When I was 16, I was like, wow. Like, I really haven't been missing out. I kind of wish I went to college. That's what I felt like. They were treating me like an adult. They were like, ooh, you aren't no child anymore. You get to scrub toilets now. That's how I felt. Yeah. And I understand why. Like, I know why these people do what they do. And why things, like, feel so repetitive, because the world has been repetitive and money has been too. There's a reason I've been seeing these people do this. The worst part is I see myself doing the same thing these people have done. Like, I've been working, I haven't been working up to anything. Like, I've just been existing, basically, and moving up, being at a job I actually would rather work at than customer service, because if you've been at customer service, it is actual hell on earth. And I got to clean, and I got to deal with them, and it was awful. So I had to be a robot. I had to just shut out, and it really showed when I first started my job. I was looking awful. I had bags under my eyes. I wasn't eating right. I was dissociating every day I walked in because I was so unhappy. And I see people doing this now. So it's like they're mirroring back to me how I used to be. It makes sense. It makes sense why they do it. They're so used to it. Lucky for me, I had the average Gen Z experience of having, like, neglect in my childhood, because I had to depend on a understandably workaholic single mom, like, and we still lived in poverty. We still couldn't have our basic needs met. That's so twisted. It wasn't enough. Like, she worked multiple jobs, but and I already said it in that other video, like, I was homeless for a minute because of it. And it is a corrupt system. It's meant to keep you small. It's meant to keep you feeling like you're less than other people, and you have to work for these people up top who are getting paid all this money. It's so nonsensical. It's a dystopia. Like, there's no other excuse for it. And I'm seeing through it now. And I'm like, I get the strongest feeling. I do not want to stay here. That's what I've been thinking. Seeing these people, it's like, God, how would I like to blink and just wake up one day and be 50 years old? And my whole life has just gone out the window, and I just wasted it working at this stupid-ass retail job. And it's not that I hate my job. I actually like it. That's what the worst part about it. But I see how fast time goes by. 4 years has just flown by. Just blinked away. And it's like, I don't want to waste my youth being here and having to deal with customers, man. Like, who's gonna deal with my annoying ass, like, walking in the store? Like, I don't even want to go to a store now because I know what it's like to deal with people. Yeah, it forced me to wake up and face the reality of the situation. Like, the way the world is right now, like, see out this window, it's so beautiful. It's so nice. Like, we don't need to take advantage of what the earth has brought us. Like, we are not here to work. And these people are, like, brainwashed into thinking, like, oh, if I don't work, then I'm weak. There's something wrong with me, because we're literally like slaves being, like, whipped. Like, you need to work or you'll lose everything. And I'm one of the lucky people who, when I first started working full-time, like, I got burnt out so fast because I worked too hard. I learned from my mom, like, don't take care of yourself. Don't treat yourself like a human being. And so I did. I let them call me in every time. And I worked so hard. I thought I was doing something. I worked myself to burnout. And I didn't even need to. We had enough money. That was horrible. And she still wants me to go back to that. But no, once I burned out, I had an awakening. And I was like, I'm never going to do that again. I learned, like, God taught me good. He was like, you do not ever want to treat yourself like a slave ever again, because you are more than that. And everyone is more than that. We should not be killing ourselves for this. And I was also drinking coffee every day. That's how I forced myself into, like, working and dealing with customers and cleaning the bathrooms every day. And I remember, like, the reason I didn't want to stop is because I was so used to being shamed. Like, oh, I don't want to be weak. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want my mom to tell me, like, to disown me or something, right? And every day I came home and I just couldn't even do anything. And I would just lay in bed. And I'd be so depressed. Like, I drew every day usually when I came home. I'd force myself to draw too, but it got to a point where I couldn't even draw or write anymore. I was just so, like, my soul was just sucked out of me. But going through that also made me realize is, like, at this time, like, for my generation, like, if there's any of you watching, might be, we see, because if you were neglected, if you had to go through all this, like, turmoil, all this neglect, all this child abuse, that's what it is. I hate to say it. I have to say it because it's true, and I've had to heal these wounds to be here right now to tell you. What the hell is the point of having a family? What is the point of having a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, anything? And having kids? If you can't even see them, if you can't even spend time with them, if you can't even appreciate them being there, what the hell is the point of having them? There is no reason to have kids right now. If that's how you're going to be, if you're going to work full-time, 80 hours a week, 60 hours, it doesn't feel worth it to me after I experienced what I did. And after I feel like this void in my heart. As much as I appreciate my mom working so hard for me, like, I'm so glad I'm here right now. But I would never want to have a kid and have them feel the same way I did and feel that, like, really deep loneliness. And then have to grow up and then experience even more loneliness. It's like, boy, I did not sign up for this. That's what it feels like. I know I'm not the only one. Like, no kid deserves that. Like, kids deserve communities. They deserve to have people who care about them and care about each other, and parents that play with them. So they feel loved and they don't feel like they're an outsider when they grow up. Like, that no one will support them. But that's just what I think. And you know what people spend their money on? Like, you know the thing that, the aisle that I hate the most at Publix, because it's all like $20 a bottle. It's like, who the hell is buying this shit? Same with the beer. It's alcohol. It's alcohol, and it's everywhere. And it's so normalized how people have just been chugging that shit. It's like I've chugged this whole drink, like, in the span of like 5 minutes. Like, calm down. People are so unhappy. That's all it is. They try to fill this void in their heart, this, like, loneliness. They used a drink to do it. I see what older people do. They don't fool me. Like, and I feel like the reason I didn't fall into it is because, like, I was in poverty, of course. Had the Gold Star experience as a child, so I got to live in a trailer park. I got to see all these people who would do nothing but just sit on their porch with a Budweiser and a little can. They just fucking chugged away every day. Grown-ass adults. Beer bellies. Fucking 3-year-old kids running around that I was playing with because I was 8 years old. And that's all they did. They just sat there all day and they drank. All day, every day. Every single day. I'm like, how the hell? Their eyes were bloodshot. They'd be like, rah, 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 rah. And I had to just see that, and I had to see how they were, like, neglecting their kids. And I was like, damn, like, I knew I'd be traumatized. And the same with, like, all the other drugs. I saw people doing weed. My own dad was an addict. Like, we have so many addicts in our family, and everything that I saw taught me, like, don't you ever pick up a damn drink. Don't you dare. because you will end up like them. That's what I've learned. And it's so strange how, like, there's, like, peer pressure around it. A handful of times people have tried to convince me, like, oh, why don't you come and take a little drink? Well, it's not gonna kill you, fam. Just one little sip of alcohol is not gonna make you an alcoholic. That's about what they sounded like to me. And I've had to lose friends over it. Because the first thing they did when they sat down at a K-pot, I would love to have friends, but my God, like, the first thing they did was order a fucking drink. A margarita. It's like, okay. Oh, God. And and then they talk about edibles on the way out. So I felt like a third wheel. I thought I found my band of creatives, and they're like, man, I wish, but I have boundaries now. Like, I've learned. You do not want to have an addict as a friend. Like, I hate to say that. No, I learned the hard way. Like, I did have an alcoholic as a friend. And she was the most toxic person I've ever met in my life. Like, I tried so hard to help her. Like, I don't want to trash talk her, because my God, she went through it. And she's a neighbor, too. She lives down the street, and I haven't talked to her in 3 years, because I had to cut her off. Because if you let them, these people will drag you down with them. And I don't want to shame people who have a problem with it, because I know that, like, you're struggling. I get it. I know. Like, I cope in my way. I know. But you can't be an addict like that and treat people like they're an object and wonder why you're alone. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why do you think? I hate to say it. Like, I know why I'm alone. Like, I can be toxic too. And I don't want to hurt people anymore. And I know it'll take time to be around people again. And that's okay. But just be aware of your addictions. Be aware of how you can hurt people with them, because you can. And that girl really did mirror to me the ways that I've been neglecting myself, because she did the same things to herself. She had toxic boyfriends. And she smoked too. It's like, oh my God. And she did weed. I'm like, why am I even around her? I remember thinking that a few times, but I literally felt like that's what I deserved. Because those are the kind of people I was raised around. Like, it makes sense. Because I didn't feel good about myself. I would literally, like, I would just walk with her. I would walk literally like 4 miles with her. Because I didn't want her to feel alone. And one time, she was that type of friend. Like, I needed to get my shoes on when I saw her walking by. But she wasn't going to wait on me to get my shoes. So I literally just didn't get my shoes because I didn't feel like I felt like it would be an intrusion. So I just walked 3 miles with her with fucking socks. It's like, oh my God, like, this is the shit that you do when you don't value yourself. And I really did learn that the hard way. Boundaries is the solution to this. And if you struggle, like, you have to want to quit. Like, that's what I've seen, like, through all my years of underage experience with this. Like, you need to want to get out of it, And you can't, if you clutch onto people, if you let people mooch off of you who are addicts, then you're enabling them, and you need to cut them off. Because all they will do is be a drain plug to you, and you won't be able to succeed. Like, I would have never been able to do this if I was still walking with her. Because you can't save someone from themselves. So the last thing I wanted to expose is the controversial one, because technically, like, contributing to it in a way. It's the internet addiction. And I learned this from my recent awakening, where I was drawing like loads of art to keep my profiles updated. I had, like, the identity of an artist. Like, I need to create and constantly be, like, working, or I mean nothing. My life is meaningless. But, you know, I found out that it's meaningless anyway through this awakening. I felt calmed by all these spiritual videos I was watching that were helping me be more open-minded. And basically how this channel exists, because I'm, like, echoing what I've learned. They were telling, I kept saying, like, let go. And they usually always say that, like, let go of control, let go of this identity, like, let go of this reality that you're forcing yourself to live, that you're not happy with, because you want more out of life, but you don't realize it, because subconsciously you're still living a life that you forced yourself to live in childhood, basically. So they were talking about, yeah, like a mirage and all these distractions that all of us face, and because they're everywhere. I found that out the hard way, because my God, they were right. I basically woke up, that's what they call it, and I realized how empty my life was. And, like, all the goals I was chasing, they didn't exist. And I remember just, like, sitting in my room, because I've been in my house for 8 years now, and I never even decorated my room, because I was so used to, like, moving constantly, so I felt like I couldn't even decorate it. That's definitely a trauma response, fun fact. But I was just sitting there, I remember, and I realized, it just, like, hit me like a truck. I stopped posting my art, and I was like, I can't even, like, describe that kind of, like, existential dread I was feeling, because I realized, like, I can't blame anyone, like, this is my fault. Like, I was the one running from myself. I was the one posting every second and feeling like I can't have any peace in my life, because that's what we're all taught to do. We're taught, like, we can't rest, we can't be worthless and be weak and be a burden and all this bullshit. They call it like it is. The worst part about it is I realized how alone I was, and how I, like, pushed everyone away from me. And I needed to. And I did. To, like, be able to process it, because I couldn't really comprehend. Like you need to be alone when you're processing this, because it's some heavy stuff. Like, I still don't feel like I want to worry about anyone right now, and that's okay, because you need space. And now when I go back on social media, and I go back to the places that I once felt understood by, and I saw the beauty, and I felt like I belonged there. Like, now I go, and I feel empty. Like, I feel completely, like, numb. I can't explain it. Like, you just see everything crystal clear, like, exactly for what it is, and you see that it really is just a distraction. Like it's pointless. And I was stuck feeling that way about my life too. You just see all the words for what they are, all the art. It's just, like, these are just all these other people on here. You want to be loved and appreciated just like you do. And they just cast out all their stuff, just like what I was doing. They cast it out, like, please see me, please love me, like, appreciate me, comment on me, like me. Please give me the external validation I crave. The most twisted part about it is how quickly these people are forgotten about. You never think about who they are. These are all just strangers you've never met before, right? They're really forgotten in the span of just a few seconds. So, I hope this gives you an existential crisis too, because I still haven't fully recovered from it. But that's it. Actually wrote a script for this one, I'm happy. I had an actual example to give, I'm happy about that too. I hope you learned something from this, and I hope that whatever addiction you have, that you find a way to break it, because everyone can break it, even if it's the worst drug addiction, even if it's the coping mechanism for the worst emotions, to, like, stuff them down. And or if it's, like, for anxiety like mine is, guilty, so guilty. I've quit this before. Like, all you have to believe that you can, and you have to put your faith, whether it's something higher than you, like God, like that's what I've had to do, and, like, pray about it, or if you just, like, cold turkey force yourself to just stop, like, or gradually, like, wean off of it, whatever you have to do, because stuff like this isn't worth taking over your life, and an internet addiction isn't either. Like, I've finally changed the content I watch is more things that educate me, and I'm sure it's obvious. You can really tell the difference between someone who just watches memes all day. Like, I can't connect to a lot of people now, and that's something I just have to have peace with. And that's something that like this helps me process a bit more. So, hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next one.